Hello and welcome to Scrib TV. I'm Samuel Ayton, joined by James Cartwright, and we're going to be having a look at what happened in the previous week's games in the National Football League. James, anything you want to discuss straight off the bat?
Well, I think the big story of the weekend was an injury to one of the top quarterbacks, and one of our favourite quarterbacks. If you watch the channel over the last month or so, you'll know that Rodgers is our favourite QB and possibly one of the best. He goes down for the Packers, and it's an absolutely huge loss, and the permutations as for the season is huge.
Yeah, I think that the loss of Aaron Rodgers is going to have a huge effect on the Green Bay offense and the Green Bay team in general. Also, a huge effect on the NFC North. You're thinking there that there's not really. I mean, I quite like watching the Lions this season, although they've not been massively impressive the last couple of games. And you're really looking at that division. You're thinking, no Teddy Bridgewater or Sam Bradford. No Aaron Rodgers now. Matt Stafford has to come out and grab this division, surely.
Definitely, but the main thing with the Lions is I just feel like they're conceding too many points. You know, they're not converting at the right times. I think luck's not on the side at the moment. You know, that touchdown they should have had against the Falcons ended up losing that game. Now they're 3-3. But there's a big chance for them to win them divisional games. Already won one game against the Vikings. You'd favour Stafford to beat Hundley when they come up head to head. But for the Packers, I just feel like they'll be scraping the playoffs at best now, because he was the guy who just drove them through games. You know, the Cowboys game wouldn't have won that, and the other games they wouldn't. He carries the team more than any other player in the league, I feel.
Yeah, the thing I always think about when I think about the Green Bay Packers is, would they actually be as good if it wasn't Aaron Rodgers? Like, their wide receivers, I don't think we're going to be particularly standout guys at any other team. The running backs, I mean, they're not really great running backs anyway. Aaron Rodgers, his mobility enables them guys to have a better, probably perform better. The fact that Aaron Rodgers is a run threat, even though he's not someone who would strike you as a run threat, we know he's got wheels, he can get there, he can get those first downs. We've seen him rush for plenty of touchdowns. His loss is a massive loss to the NFL this season, and to that division, and to that team. I think the Packers are going to struggle actually with Brett Hundley. No disrespect to Brett Hundley at all. I think he's a solid backup. I'm surprised they haven't gone out and got an established name. I know there's not particularly a lot of guys out there, but I mean, I'd be right now if I was the Green Bay Packers, I'd be calling up CBS and I'd be trying to get Tony Romo out of retirement to come join that team, because I think he's probably the best bet they have of getting into the playoffs. Probably not something that's likely to happen, but I think that's something that I would be trying to do if I was a member of the Packers back room. What do you think the steps are for them? What's their aim now this season then?
I think it would be just to scrape into the playoffs at the very best and just see how they get on once they get there. But genuinely was a championship opportunity for this team. If Aaron Rodgers was staying fit all season, a lot of people picking them as Super Bowl contenders, and rightly so, coming out the NFC. I just feel the concern with the Packers is, and a lot of people have been saying this since his injury, that they haven't built talent around Aaron Rodgers. They've sort of just relied on him. I don't know whether now they have to think about maybe getting a guy in the next draft. I mean, there's a few teams have to get a QB in the next draft and do exactly what they did with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a formula that we know works because Aaron Rodgers came through that very same system of picking up a guy, letting him sit for a couple of seasons underneath one of the top QBs in the game. Very surprised that we haven't seen the Steelers do that. Very surprised that we haven't seen the Packers themselves do that. Aaron Rodgers is no spring chicken anymore. He's getting on a little bit. I was surprised that the Cowboys didn't do that, although they fell in really lucky with Dak Prescott last season. Plenty of teams here that can go and get a QB in the first round because they've got strong enough teams, but also maybe looking into the second, third, deep in the draft, some guy with a bit of talent that you can nurture for a few years. The Saints, why haven't they got someone? You'll be learning from the best. Chargers, another team. I think, was Hundley going to be the answer? No, I don't think they drafted him at the right time. I don't think he was ever going to be the starter for Green Bay. I think now's the opportunity. If they want to win this championship, they need to go out there, they need to get a guy who they know is going to start and be able to win games. I'm talking about players like trying to get Tony Romo involved. Would Romo come back to play for the Packers? Personally, I think he would if it wasn't injury concerns. The guy wanted a chance to win somewhere. He wasn't getting that opportunity. The phone wasn't ringing for him. You need to go out and get somebody like that. I think this team's done for the season personally, unless they can get a QB in there who's going to make the most of what they have around. And like you say, they haven't really put talent around Aaron Rodgers, and I think a lot of these players, bar potentially Jordy Nelson for me, would be stars in any other offence.
I agree. I really think Packers have an average side beyond Aaron Rodgers. I think they've only got a few decent players. I think one of the pundits on the American sports channels was saying if they did an expansion draft for the NFL as they did in the NHL when the Vegas Knights came in, how many players would get picked from the Packers? How many players would you want out of that Packers team to go onto your new franchise? Maybe Clinton Dix from the secondary, maybe Jordy Nelson, but again, injuries. Would you want to take a risk on him? I don't think you'd take any of the running backs. So, yeah, I just feel like they were pretty much a one-man team.
Yeah, and I think that the loss of Rodgers is going to really shake up the NFL this season, and I'll really be looking forward to see who can capitalise on that, especially in a very tight, what was already a tight NFC North division. And also, if Brett Hundley does get the start, I'd like to see how he performs. You never know, he could surprise us, just as Dak Prescott did last season in a similar situation, albeit earlier on in the pre-season.